Ooh. Hello, historical people. I've put a spear on the end of my staff, and that makes me cool. No. Quick one about spears. Yes, I'm in the garage again because I can't bother to go outside. I've only recently unpacked my stuff from Swordpunk, and yeah. So spears come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. You can get spears that are designed to be used one-handed. You can get spears that are designed to be used two-handed. And you can get spears that are absolutely super duper long and you never see the end of them. Okay, spear is one of the earliest weapons, one of the most popular weapons in history, and they're just really fucking annoyingly good because of this. Basically, I'm here, bang, you're stabbed, right? And that's all it takes. I'm miles away. You can't really hurt me with many of your other weapons. If you've got rubbish armor, might poke a leg, poke a neck, poke whatever. I'm just getting in there, poking, and I've got good control over that. I've got, you know, quite a good bit of structure behind the spear there, right? And I can go for some jammy one-handed mega thrusts if I'm really bothered, but then I'm going to lose a lot of control. But realistically, bang. And if any of you are familiar with like things like small sword, rapier, things like that, you have the kind of same sort of parry, riposte, disengage, come under style of fighting, which is cool. It's interesting. And it's kind of like, right, okay, so that's always kind of worked. Because obviously with the spear, I have seen people like slash in and things like that, which you can do with some spearheads, or most spearheads really, if you're using them properly. But this one's kind of like a broadleaf type of head, and that would be able to slash a bit. That should be sharp along the edges. But some, even if it's like a sharp point, you can be cutting with that point, okay? So I could be here in somebody's face and get a little nick, and then bang, in with a stab. And that makes them really versatile, okay? And the fact that I'm over here means I probably don't need as good armor. I probably don't need as good skill with this type of weapon. So I'm nice and cheap to employ, okay? And get ready on the battlefield. Obviously, the issue with them is they're wood. Now, I've been using this staff for quite a bit, dropped it loads, taken a few bashes when I have used it as a spear, and we're nowhere near to breaking it just yet. Obviously, they would break far easier than metal because they're just a bit of wood, especially if they're nice and thin, etc., etc. But yeah, spears and pole arms, they are to be used like this. Whether that's over, whether that's in one hand, whether that's under, whether it's like a snooker cue, whether it's a little bit slashy and then bang. But basically, I've got a ranged weapon here, ultimately. And that's the cool thing about them, okay? You can close a lot of distance very fast. Issue comes, like if this was coming at me, and to be honest, it does come really bloody fast. So what I'm about to say is kind of situational, but I do have the opportunity to, if I can deflect that head, I can grab the shaft, and now it's like, and now that's like I can do whatever. If I've got sidearm sword or my own spear, I can start getting involved. And then obviously, if I manage to break that snap, they've just got a potentially pointy stick, which if I've got any armor on, I should be alright with. The fun stuff is when you get to the halberds. Now this halberd's obviously short. This is frill armory, about as tall as they'll be allowed to ship. But the cool thing when we get to proper pole arms with the complex heads is we've got those heads like a control element. You see the shape of the halberd there. I've got a hook here for controlling spears. I've got the head there also for controlling, and big chop. So if somebody puts their spear up to block them, I've got a nice chance of getting through there. Obviously, if this was a big chunk of metal, I'd have even more chance because I'd have more weight. But as you can see, massive spike on the end. I know a lot of people, especially in the harness effect and stuff and the harness fighting, like to fucking half sword their axes and stuff, get the tin opener effect going. And that's cool. That probably does work when you're in armor. But so does a big spike to the fucking chest or whatever. You'll eventually get through steel plate with a big steel pokey bit. So just keep stabbing, okay? Or like you half sword with a long sword, find the little weak bits. But, you know, I can find the weak bits from over here if need be. well, I don't know. I don't really have that kind of coordination, but somebody might. But yeah, so when you start looking at spears versus pole arms, because the spear is kind of flat, kind of straight, I can control a lot of this with the head of the halberd and stuff like that. If some of my halberd versus whatever videos should be online, if you can be bothered to watch those, you'll see a lot of the time the strike will come in and I'll catch that with the head, and it's not too difficult to do either, and then you can push that off to the side and come in. So when you start putting extra bits onto your spear, you know, a lot of people like the boar spear because it has those two little fins, and they work just as well. Well, probably not as well as a full-on bloody halberd would, or bill, of course, but they give that little potential control there. So really useful bits of kit, spears and pole arms. And yeah, there's nothing fancy with them really. It's just fucking point and go. That's all. A lot of the stuff is way more simple than we give it credit for sometimes. Obviously there's finesse and there's like whatever we can learn as fencers, which is really fun and really cool. But these tools have been made and designed in such a way that, you know, most of them are quite simple. So yeah, hopefully useful. Hopefully you got something out of that. See you in a bit.